and that would grow like a beard.
I didn't know how long it was going to be on that day, you know? So I must have sat there 6 hours waiting for that show to end.
I remember going, whoa, music on TV, what's going on? Dude, check this out.
I didn't give a shit about like HBO, Showtime, all that. I'm like, we got MTV.
My earliest memory of MTV was not having it. My family was about the last to have cable.
We didn't have cable, so my mom's boyfriend did. So I would sneak over, you know, and go over there, and I would sit in there all day just mesmerized by MTV.
I was actually in the Bahamas, and I stayed in the hotel room for 2 weeks. Did not go outside and watch MTV.
I was completely obsessed with it. I watched it every day.
3 friends would go hang out at a house, just sit there and watch MTV.
That we started watching, that's all we watched.
Def Leppard's Photograph came on. I was riveted to try to see how he was fretting the notes.
I wanna rock!
That guy's hair and Flock of Seagulls.
That Twisted Sister video, that was the first thing I remember about MTV.
I liked Joan Jett a lot, you know. I always wanted to have sex with Joan Jett, even though it wasn't her first choice.
When they used to play some Van Halen, you know, some early AC/DC, and I used to sit around for hours and hours just to watch it rotate and rotate.
I remember it wasn't until I saw like videos for early Devo videos, like Satisfaction. I thought this was a really cool new medium.
It was so new and exciting because you had never seen your favorite rock guys move.
Klaus Meine is on TV, okay? Like, I couldn't believe that my favorite rockers were actually moving around on TV.
I was real excited when I saw Prince for the first time. I was real excited when I saw David Bowie Fashion. That video was one of my favorites.
We'd like sit and check out what was on MTV for about an hour. And then we'd get up to rehearsal really late, and James and Ron would be really pissed off.
I'd get back from like rehearsal or something, and I'd sit there from 2 o'clock in the morning on the floor watching MTV till I fell asleep. Waking up in the morning, going to work, and it's still on.
And there was just girls like, the rock videos, like, you know. My grandpa came in, he's like, no, click.
As soon as I wanted another version or another film in my head to play, I would just turn on MTV and see what their version of it was.
It definitely made it seem more glamorous. Suddenly there they were talking, they were funny, they were cool. People come to life, and that certainly had an appeal.
And in that sense, I think it you know, I'm sure that it became like the biggest radio station in the world, you know, like that's where you heard your music.
MTV changed everything as we knew it. The scope of the world became really small all of a sudden.
After the break, join us for the next 2 hours as we celebrate 20 years of rock on MTV, from the earliest video hits to the biggest rock stars of right now, and of course, everything else in between.
And you know, when you're 13 or 14 years old, love is a battlefield, I'd have to say.
Back then it was like, really any video was a good video, like you just couldn't believe your luck.
MTV's opening salvo back on August 1st, 1981 was a clip of Video Killed the Radio Star, an international hit by the English electropop group The Buggles. But Americans were also getting into making videos with some strange and wonderful results, and among the other acts featured in MTV's first hour of programming 20 years ago were REO Speedwagon, 38 Special, and this Brooklyn woman who would soon become the queen of 80s pop rock, Pat Benatar.
I remember the day that it began, that MTV began. I want my MTV. They gave us the airtime and when it was going to actually go on television. And I have to tell you that in a course of a week, our lives changed and it never was the same again, ever. What you trying to do to my soul? There were like 5 videos, that's all there were. And they played them 24 hours a day. It was nuts. I mean, it was so much fun because you had no history. I said go away and leave me alone. When I was 26, I was looking to be as outrageous as there wasn't anything that was outrageous enough.
She kicked it live, man. She had an incredible range and a clear voice.
I love You Better Run because You Better Run was the very first thing, and it's so pure. I remember the director, he put a fan on, and he said, okay, I'm gonna turn up the music and I want you to go. And I was like, yo, I don't go, okay, I don't go. I was so pissed, so mad, so that's why that whole attitude, so it was perfect. We are young!
And you know, when you're 13 or 14 years old, love is a battlefield, I'd have to say.
Love is a battlefield.
Yeah, man. Dude, we'll get down with that, dude. When she meets like a shiesty Hollywood dude who makes her into a hooker.
Love is a battlefield. I mean, like, those were, you know, remember the dance?
I swear, it took 2 or 3 days of 16 hours a day to do it, to learn the dancing. This was when Michael Jackson's videos were out, and it was like, this was this whole new thing, and I was thinking, I don't know about this. This is a little weird for me. You know, I'm not like a pop star.
Pat fell in there. She had big hair. Very skinny little girl with big hair.
Like, it's either like a really cool thing or it is the stupidest thing I ever did, so I can't ever remember, you know? We sold 5 million records. This was an amazing feat, especially for a female.
The inherent nature of being a woman in rock is a very difficult issue because your looks become part of what goes on.
She kind of said, looked at everybody in that little snarl she had and said, yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna kick an ass if I don't get laid tonight.
I was only looking to make noise and change things. You know, I always think of those early years as this, all the time.
They come from the cities and they come from the smaller towns.
I saw MTV start, and I saw where it's at now. I mean, 20 years. I watched this thing. Boom, boom, 4 minutes, another one, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes. And every 4 minutes there was something new to look at. We had never seen television like that before. It was always our parents' television. You know how great that is to be able to say that I've experienced that? With MTV, it was immediate. I mean, it was like somebody turned on a switch and you became very visible very quickly.
I think John Cougar Mellencamp is one of the most talented people out there. He got an original voice, like what he's about.
I've always come up with my own videos, I'm ashamed to say, but they were always my idea, good, bad, or indifferent.
Jack and Diane, don't let it rock.
You know, like Jack and Diane, I shot myself. You know, I shot with an 8mm camera. And
did they make out in front of the Dairy Queen?
I think in the thing it showed them making out in front of the Dairy Queen, yeah.
Little ditty about Jack and Diane.
There wasn't anybody for me to go, oh, I want to make a video like that. You know, we were inventing our own job.
That's the one with the pictures. I'm so bad. This is so horrible, man.
I don't.
That was my social life.
Remember that?
I do.
If John Mellencamp came on like the guy next door, the members of the Irish band U2 positioned themselves as brothers to the world. The group debuted in 1980 and has been a constant MTV presence over the years with its giant riffs, soaring vocals, and very Celtic soul and poetry. U2's music swelled with social conscience, but never degenerated into political harangue.
U2 did it back in the day, where they really hit sort of an emotional pocket, and all of a sudden they broke.
I remember getting really into all that Red Rock stuff, and Bloody Sunday and the New Year's Day and all that stuff, and just being totally infatuated with them.
I don't think there's too many venues that are cut out of the side of a mountain with the big flames shooting up. It's a good place to shoot a video.
U2's Gloria, which was filmed at Red Rocks, was a place that Rage Against the Machine later played, and I was very disappointed because we didn't have fire. You know, like I was like, I thought that maybe like came on the rider, came like with the gig. You get like big fire pillars when you play at Red Rocks. So I was really bummed that we didn't get the fire.
They seemed at the time as political as Rage Against the Machine has been now, but I wasn't really sure what they were angry about.
All is quiet on New Year's Day.
You know, I don't know the name of the song. They're in the snow. It's a beautiful video. I love his voice. I love Bono's voice. I love that just because it's cool to piss the cops off. I mean, any rocker digs that.
They had a great way of taking the culture that they're from and also like American culture at the same time. sort of blending it together and making, you know, great noise.
Our guitar player is like, he's really like infatuated with like the edge and just the way he makes his guitar noises.
I think Octoon Baby is one of the greatest rock records ever made.
Fan of U2? Absolutely.
Big time, early U2.
U2 for me is one of those groups that like I'm discovering now, like more than ever.
They're a band that I respect and admire, and you know, great musicians and great singer in their songs, and they obviously mean what they do, and you know, they were around before us, and they're still around today.
I was like, man, look at his lip.
Nice day, white wedding. You don't come around here no more.
It was a drag being caricatured, you know, with the top hat and the little black glasses.
It is silly, it is decadent, it is all those things because it's only rock and roll.
Welcome back to Testimony, 20 Years of Rock on MTV. No star burned brighter in the early days of MTV than Billy Idol, an English singer who'd started out with the punk pop band Generation X. With his spiked hair, withering sneer, black leather poses, and of course, scantily clad babes beyond number, Idol created a whole catalog of video cliches that still resonate today. Let's revisit them.
Billy Idol in his time was the preeminent alternative artist.
He's amazing because he lives it, you know, like he did like all the moves in the studio, like he did all this stuff and the face.
He always had that sneer, like that.
Yeah, he was cool.
And like I thought that was bad when I was a little kid. That was the only thing I even like cared about was
the sneer.
Yeah, like he looked like he was bad.
What about the fist?
I even tried to. Well, it was a combination of the fist and the sneer.
He had that lip thing going. I was like, man, look at his lip.
Nice day, white wedding.
I enjoyed those Billy Idol videos. You know, he was willing to go for his. You know, and I think the White Wedding was a great song.
I was there in the church, and like the hammers, the hammering and the nails and the coffin.
The video had some of those kind of early MTV video isms of, you know, sort of, there was, I believe, some sort of dancing in a kitchen.
Great video.
Yeah, concept and Billy rocks.
Billy's a man.
Dude, eyes without a face, hello.
Eyes without a face.
Billy Idol actually crossed over and made it easier for alternative bands in the future, just like The Cure did. So I have to give Billy Idol his props because he sort of helped open doors by being who he was and the music that he was making.
Tom Petty and his Florida-based band, the Heartbreakers, had already been making records for 5 years when MTV got underway, and with their rootsy musical approach, they seemed unlikely candidates for video stardom. But Petty embraced the new medium fearlessly and created some classic images.
Tom Petty had a good stretch on MTV, dude.
Never really changed what he did. He just kind of got better at it every time he tried to do it.
The most ambitious move we ever made was when we did You Got Lucky, which took place in the desert, was sort of a Mad Max Western.
He always had them like Mad Max looking videos. You know what I'm saying? When he's like in the desert with them dune buggies and stuff.
I think Into the Great Wide Open was my favorite.
Into the great wide open.
First cut of the video was 20 minutes, and I actually had to go in and re-edit the record and make it much longer to accommodate the video. You don't really notice it, but I was more or less scoring the video with the song. I played 7 different roles, and I don't think you even noticed me in more than 1 or 2.
I remember that one with that chick skating in the half pipe. What was that?
It was like the easiest one I ever did. I just rode an escalator all morning.
Don't come around here no more.
And I like the Alice one, but I'm so worn out, I'm not, you know.
Because he used some serious wide angle in that and got close-ups of Tom Petty that made his
That was
mouth
like 80s psychedelia, which is always weird to me.
It was a drag being caricatured with the top hat and the little black glasses. I didn't really want to get stuck there.
Whatever reservations Petty may have had about his video efforts, they paid off in a pretty dignified way with a Video Vanguard Award from MTV.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Petty.
We won a few awards now and then. That was nice to be recognized like that. I never expected an award, and I'd just like to say thank you very much to MTV and everyone who gave it to me. It's nice to be noticed.
Live Aid, held on July 13, 1985, was the biggest charity event in pop music history, an all-star, continent-spanning live concert for African famine relief. MTV was on hand to help bring it to a worldwide audience of 1.2 billion viewers.
Live Aid, JFK Stadium in Philadelphia, the Iron Men, Ozzy Osbourne, and Black Sabbath.
I remember having to get up like really, really early to see like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest.
Bill Graham, I remember being really nervous to get everybody on, you know. You didn't have time to tune up or anything. It's just, there you go, play, kid.
The two things that stick out in my mind about that day were Queen and U2. I thought Queen was unbelievable.
His passion for his music and his brilliant sense of melody, god damn. You could tell that he was put on this earth by God to sing. That is what Freddie Mercury was put here to do.
Live Aid was cool. Live Aid was good. It was positive movement, you know, doing something for the positive. And U2's got a pretty political standpoint. They put their hands on politics.
A unique, great event it was.
That was when those kinds of things were real.
You know, there was never really anything like it afterwards.
That was when a bunch of artists really got together and made a difference.
Whatever happened to the ball, man? The ball
Ricky
was
Rocket.
another MTV party.
Ricky Rocket.
That was an MTV party.
Was it Ricky Rocket, right?
The ball's on.
Sit down, Waldo.
I remember watching that video. I think I had a wet dream watching that video.
The combination of the two was, you know, terrific. It was just, I mean, even their bad songs were good.
First thing that reminds me of MTV and rock is big hair.
You know, a lot of people have talked about, you know, how all basically helped kill off hair metal, you know, which is probably true, but I can't say I had a death wish for all those people.
Recently, I've been dating a gal who really loved those bands, and I swear to you, she still has got the tapes in her car.
I've embraced my metal past. I'm not ashamed.
Welcome back to Testimony, 20 years of rock on MTV. No band flaunted the hard rock lifestyle of high times, hot women, and general excess more flamboyantly than Van Halen, especially with its original frontman, David Lee Roth. This was the group that inspired 1,000 hair bands like Motley Crue and Poison. With its heavy rhythm section, virtuoso guitarist, and of course Diamond Dave out front, Van Halen was custom made for MTV.
The great thing about the Hot for Teacher video is it's probably the one video where Van Halen sort of got on tape what Van Halen was kind of like.
Hot for Teacher, everybody remembers Hot for Teacher. Yeah. I remember Hot.
I loved the whole concept of, you know, the little kid Van Halen band, and then the teachers. I wish I had teachers like that in my school.
A, it had attitude, and B, being a young adolescent boy, looking at a beautiful, we'll call her a teacher. Let's just hope she was a stripper.
I think that was actually probably the first time I ever saw a stripper dance.
The highlight of the Hot for Teacher video is when they're doing the dances, which like clearly Dave has choreographed and the other guys just can't learn to save their lives, yet they gotta film it sooner or later. That's like the best they're gonna get it. They're doing their best to do all of these. That's really the highlight of that video.
One of them can't dance, I know that much.
Yeah,
I remember seeing it and thinking.
Michael Antonin, probably.
Probably. It's great. The bass player didn't have rhythm.
I thought the bits where they're doing all the dancing together in their red suits, I mean, that's classic Van Halen.
That was the one video where you sort of saw the Van Halen charm sort of fully come across.
Diamond Dave, God bless the man. You know, he's like Catskills comedy meets good rock music.
I have no musical influences, so to speak. My idols were always people like Genghis Khan or Muhammad Ali or Alexander the Great or the guy who invented McDonald's hamburgers.
You're gonna have brilliance, you're gonna have goofiness, that's it. And you gotta have both things because otherwise you'll never get that nice middle.
This video's hot, it sounds cool, it looks cool, they've got attitude.
The next memory of MTV was they had that contest with Van Halen, some kid in Detroit got to go on tour with them and everything, and I remember seeing that and I just wanted to be that guy.
We have the winner of the last weekend here tonight.
Van Halen brothers and David Lee Roth kind of need each other.
I think Van Halen is very much defined by David Lee Roth. I think anything else has just been like a cover band doing Van Halen songs.
Right Now changed my life.
I don't think one is better than the other. They're so different. And Eddie's the winner and all that. Because he's there for both of them.
There was that kind of a cartoonish element to early Van Halen that was very appealing, and a kind of more of an adult element to later Van Halen that also was appealing.
David Lee Roth, Eddie Van Halen, Alex, Michael, you know, will always be the original Van Halen. But I gotta say this, Sammy Hagar being one of my good friends, right? He's also a great singer, a great performer, a great guitar player, and so I thought it was a pretty good transition.
They did something no one else could ever do. They made a lead singer change and still continued on with big success. And I've never seen anybody really pull that off in that way.
I think Poison, in many ways, has had an impact in a lot of different ways. Both people that absolutely love what we have done and absolutely hate what we've done. My favorite video from Poison that we've ever done would probably be Nothing But a Good Time, because that was just such a great memory, you know, of that moment.
Seeing the old videos with all the girls in the cars and the big hair, and you know what I'm saying, the motorcycle goes rolling down Sunset Strip, it made you just like look at it and go, wow, that's rock and roll.
It was a great time of decadence in Los Angeles at the time, and those guys brought it to the world.
Welcome to the world of a motley crew.
I'd like to think that we've had a really big impact on the cycle of music.
I love the video for Looks That Kill by Motley Crue.
I remember seeing this Motley Crue video for, I don't remember what song it was, and I was like, those guys are bad.
Motley Crue had an element of danger, or an element of unpredictability.
All of the Shout at the Devil, Regalia.
You really truly didn't know what was going to happen next.
Like the platform boots and pentagrams shooting everywhere off the bass drums and the makeup.
I remember buying Shout at the Devil. It was exciting to me because it was everything that my school could possibly hate, and it was everything that I wanted in a record.
Oh my God, that is rock.
One day when I die, somebody will look back and say, you know what? Nobody has spun their drums upside down. Nobody's flown their drums from the back, from the stage all the way to the back of the arena. Nobody has made their drums levitate and blow up in midair and reappear on the stage.
If Motley Crue seemed soaked in glammy decadence, John Bon Jovi repackaged the idea of big hair rock stardom as something that millions of little girls could get next to without fear of being weirded out. A hefty infusion of big chord power ballads didn't hurt either.
I picture more of what I'm doing as like Clint Eastwood with a guitar.
Like Bon Jovi's music, and I think that they definitely had an influence on a lot of hard rock bands. Their videos were big, and I think they brought a lot of energy and a lot of life to music videos.
I've seen a million faces, and I rock them all. 18 in life, you got it. 18 in life, you know.
Well, you know, people say Skid Row, you guys are like an overnight success. I go, it took at least like 3 nights. Now, what did surprise me that so many people bought the records, and I have to thank MTV for that because they gave me the exposure. You know, they put us in every living room every night. You see, I never got in a rock band. What career do I want to be? I can be a doctor, or I can be a lawyer, or I can be a rocker. Which do I pick? That's not the way, rock and roll picked me. At midnight on Saturday, we get together and we get a case of beer and watch Headbangers Ball. It was the greatest.
The show that was, the be-all and end-all was Headbangers Ball.
Whatever happened to the ball, man? The ball
Ricky
was
Rocket.
another MTV party.
Ricky
That
Rocket
was an MTV party.
That was the only way you
Pantera.
could see like the rock video, like the rock videos that we liked.
I remember being in like 7th or 8th grade and seeing Pantera, Skid Row, and like Winger.
It's always interesting to see what they would dig up for the Headbangers Ball.
We'd watch and study the latest, gestures and gyrations of Poison and Skid Row.
Judas Priest videos were actually pretty dope early MTV videos.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Got another thing coming?
Breaking the law, breaking the law.
I show up to do the very first time Skid Row on Headbangers, and Ace is in the next seat to me getting made up for his interview, and we hit it off. I was like, oh my God.
I miss Ricky Wackman. You gotta love Ricky Wackman. It's great.
I remember seeing it sometimes at my friend's house, and the hosts were all, and like, hi, it's Headbangers Ball, like all saucy and stuff, and then like towards the end of it, they're all, what's up? They're all tatted down. Piercings, Adidas, they're all, this is Korn, check it out.
I remember that's the first time I heard Guns N' Roses.
I think that first experience of Headbangers Ball was where we destroyed the stage.
If Appetite for Destruction's any indication, you guys are going to destroy a whole lot when it comes to rock and roll.
They told us that we could. They were sort of kidding, and we tore the whole set.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we have before us here is redecoration unlike any I've ever seen.
Guns N' Roses started, and at that point, it was just us and them.
They came out, they were raw, they did what they wanted to do, they did it the way they wanted to do it.
They were extremely successful and very wild. They did rock and roll amazing.
They embodied that next wave of, at least they were out there just tearing it up.
They just kicked everybody's ass. Guns N' Roses were real exciting. In fact, that was sort of an MTV buzz moment, when Welcome to the Jungle first hit the screen.
Best Guns N' Roses video would clearly be Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the Jungle came on, it was just like, whoa.
It tells a story of a guy just off the bus from Indiana, who meets, Hollywood characters, and next thing you know, you're in a rock and roll band and doing your serpentine.
When we did Welcome to the Jungle, it was such a new concept. We had a very Sex Pistols kind of attitude towards it.
Welcome to the Jungle was a damn exciting moment. Even though it pissed me off at the time, I was like, those guys are getting over like gangbusters. What's going on here? We can't even get a record played on the radio.
It was the right album at the right time. And certain albums just hit.
All of a sudden, when MTV sort of put its wing over us, because the singles were doing well, that's when the videos started to blossom. When Sweet Child of Mine came out, it was that pop single that was a ballad that just universally appealed to everybody.
Sweet Child of Mine, MTV, watching that video, changed the world.
I'm a bad boy, 'cause you don't even miss her.
I know I saw Axl do Free Fallin' with Tom Petty. That was cool.
We're walking off the stage, and Vince Neil leaps up out of the audience and hits Izzy right in the face. Well, my mind's blown, wow, this guy just ran up out of the audience and hit Izzy in the face. Now, I think Izzy already had a black eye. I think it was all about some chick or, some mud wrestler or something.
Axl is Axl. Take it or leave it. He doesn't give a shit. If you don't like what he does, he could care less. I think that rules.
This guy just sounded so spiteful and so angry and so like real.
And he was a very driven guy, you know, like probably the most driven person I've ever met.
Where Axl was coming from, and probably still is trying to express the lyrics through a visual.
I think November Rain was brilliantly shot.
November Rain, I mean, hit it right on the mark, I thought.
And it was almost like a mini movie and very cool at the time.
Everybody was allowed their one big rock about it.
November Rain was his ode to all those great Elton John ballads.
To me, that's my classical music because some of his stuff is classical. You know, and so I listen to Elton John all the time.
Axl was a fantastic performer. I actually played with him at the MTV Awards on November Rain.
And I know it meant a lot to Axl because Axl, you know, one of Axl's big heroes was Elton John.
Where we went through major lows and some highs and some major highs and some major lows and some highs.
The fact that it even lasted 5 years or 6 years, I think was amazing because it was just a time bomb.
Guns did its one record for me, as far as I'm concerned. We accomplished that. That'll always be there. And so everything I do from there is just moving onward.
One of my favorite memories was when Nirvana was at the '92 Music Awards, and we had a Michael Jackson impersonator accept an award for us. We were walking backstage with him, and we passed Flavor Flav. And Flavor Flav saw him, was like, "Yo, Michael, what's up?" I think Flav had his kid with him. He's like, "Yo, can we get a picture?" And the Michael Jackson guy fully played along with it like he was really Michael Jackson. There's Flav just...
When was it written that every singer has to sing like this? I'm like, when did that happen in rock?
Without doubt, the most reluctant video stars in the history of the Forum are the members of Metallica, a group that was founded the same year MTV was born, but which refused even to make a video until 1988. That maiden clip, though, was a classic.
I can't remember anything.
I love Metallica. That's another band. I think it's just a great rock band. No apologies.
The first video we made was in 1988 for the song One.
And I thought that the video that they did make, the One video, was an incredible video.
I remember when the video premiered on MTV, it was in, I think it was in February of '89.
Darkness imprisoning me. All that I see, absolute horror. I cannot live, I cannot die. Trapped in myself, fighting my only fear.
It's amazing that when a band makes one of those videos, it really sticks out in your mind. I mean, it's easy to see it, you know how it goes, and when somebody gets it right, it really, really works.
I loved that video.
The video was great.
Yeah.
It actually made me read a book.
One was pretty awful. Not a bad video, but just like seeing it, you're like, oh God, this guy with no arms, no legs, with a mask on, he can't see.
And it entered. Your version of TRL at that time was called Dial MTV at #1. And like, it was just mind-boggling. And this was the time of like Bon Jovi and, you know, Cinderella's and Winger and all that type of stuff, and we just came right in and crushed. The Black Album had come out in August of '91. Enter Sandman just blew up, and the video blew up on MTV.
By 1991, Metallica was even ready to take the stage at the annual Video Music Awards.
And we basically just flew in for 48 hours from Europe on 2 days off to do the VMAs. Did the sound check, played the next day, got drunk and got on a plane and went back and just continued playing dates in Europe. That performance is probably single-handedly responsible for the Black Album selling 20 million copies. So thank you very much.
And the winner is Metallica, Enter Sandman.
I think they're always inventive. I never considered them to go soft. I think that they're original.
I think the fact that Metallica was actually the band that was most played on MTV in 1992 is a pretty awesome statistic in itself.
You know, they've managed to expand out on what they're doing, which they've been doing it for so long. You can't blame them for wanting to, you know, to try everything out they possibly can.
What I remember most about, like, when I see it now is just there was a lot of hair around then. There were 4 guys in this band and there was a lot of hair between them.
If Metallica was an alternative to the more ham-handed forms of metal, REM, a little college band from Athens, Georgia, offered a similar alternative, the slick corporate rock that had already provoked the punk new wave explosion of the late 70s and early 80s. In fact, this was the band for years a fixture on MTV that set the stage for the alt-rock boom of the 1990s.
That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion.
I don't really feel like we or I fit into categorically whatever pop music is right now. I think we've always kind of moved along the perimeters of it, and so whatever we're doing discreetly.
And the winner is REM, Losing My Religion.
Tar Sam and REM, Losing My Religion.
REM, Losing My Religion.
Any of us ever really wanted to put ourselves up front as personalities and sell the band based on our looks or our image. The music was always the most important thing. And none of us looked that great anyway, so it probably wouldn't have worked.
If REM successfully catered to the pop sensibilities of sensitive college students, Seattle grunge did something similar for traditional working-class rock, sprucing up the usual cool tunes with a harder edge and lots of punk velocity.
That was probably, actually, without a doubt, my favorite time in music in the past 10 years.
Probably the allure of the whole thing was that it seemed like normal, everyday people.
It made music serious again, you know, and, you know, without trying.
It was the flannel, you know. It was the grease in the hair. It was the unkempt style.
It just felt really, really special and important. You could just feel that stuff was, the music was changing gear.
There's always going to be, you know, a handful of people in every generation that get the credit. But certainly for every person that gets the credit, there's 20 other people that deserve credit too, that just don't get the level of recognition. You know, for every ounce of credit that Kurt Cobain got, Mudhoney should have gotten just as much credit.
Soundgarden was a great heavy metal band with also a great singer and a deep singer, and they did some musically very amazing things. But Alice in Chains had a kind of a different darkness and a different kind of an aura to them that, you know, was just really right up my strasse.
I love Alice in Chains, my God. Rooster, and it's great music.
Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, who it's not really one of my favorite bands, but had a really great impact.
Pearl Jam was just a great rock band, great live rock band with a great singer, who had a way of connecting with the audience.
I think it was an exciting time just because you see that there's this whole, there was a stream of music just below the mainstream that was way better than what was going on.
I don't think any of them liked being called grunge or any more than we liked being called the new wave.
And then just kind of flipped the worm turn.
That was great because it got rid of all those guys with the hairspray and the leotards.
People weren't sort of going on to MTV to be on MTV. MTV was sort of coming to the music.
Something was about to give.
Something had to give. The dam was gonna break.
And it did.
And then Kurt came in like, you know, like a phoenix, you know? Like, he cut them down like wheat before the sickle. Whoosh! You know, you are done. Nirvana, to me, was the most significant thing since the Beatles.
Nirvana album came out, and everybody went, yes! Rock and roll just needs a good kick in the ass every once in a while. You never know when it's going to come.
Teen Spirit. Yeah, Teen Spirit was like, that was like, I was feeling that. Pulled my my heart out of my throat and just whipped me around the room.
The song was incredible, and you knew it was their time, and it just was so obvious to all the alt-rock bands that, you know, Nirvana had arrived and everything was going to blow up.
That was the big one, I think. You know, a whole new style from another place in the United States, a major statement.
Actually, I didn't like the video that much. And I seem to remember Courtney once telling me that Kurt didn't like the video either.
It really affected me in that way, where it just sort of filled me up.
It's not about whether that's a great video, it was the video. Whether everybody looks great or it's a nice concept or whatever really goes out the window if it's the right moment and the right song.
Come as you are, as you were, as I want you to be.
Very powerful vision, very honest man behind it, you know, very talented man behind it.
I wish I was like you. Easily amused.
Hi, I'm Kurt Loder with an MTV News special report on a very sad day. Kurt Cobain, the leader of one of rock's most gifted and promising bands, Nirvana, is dead.
We've had a suicide in our band, you know, so that was when I was like about 18, I experienced that. And I think what it does is just, the first reaction is just anger. You know, it's like, and I think that's what a lot of people felt.
This guy was truly, obviously truly depressed in his soul.
I kind of avoided getting too deeply into the details of this because it won't put you in a good mood.
I think a lot of his fans are going to be depressed, and he will be truly missed.
That guy was so talented and had his future wide open, you know, and as many people that followed that guy and that, you know, loved that man. It was like, man.
I loved him. He was amazing.
I thought the guy was brilliant. You know, it's a loss, and at the same time, it was probably inevitable that he did what he did, but he wrote some great stuff.
So sad, because imagine, I mean, maybe we wouldn't even have half of the music we have right now if he was still around, you know. Maybe he would be inspiring people to write great music still.
What else can I add to Kurt Cobain that everybody else hasn't said already? I mean, it was genius and changed the musical landscape forever. End of story.
It's 109 degrees and the excitement is running high here at the opening date of Lollapalooza, a traveling carnival of music, information and art.
One of the pleasures of popular music is keeping track of all the adventurous acts that are constantly bubbling up underneath the mainstream. Jane's Addiction frontman Perry Farrell tried to institutionalize this pastime with his Lollapalooza festival.
In the case of the Lollapalooza, it was brought to me. We want you to put together a great tour, and you can do anything you want. And when I heard that, I did.
I really liked Jane's Addiction a lot. And they were a band that really kicked my ass.
One of the greatest shows I've ever seen. One of my, top 5 rock show experiences.
To be chosen to go on that tour and then just seeing them every night was really good.
Lollapalooza in the beginning, up until like probably around 95, was this weird sort of where the normal people come out and meet the freaks.
I loved the way that every band affected every other band, the diversity of that bill. It just all worked.
It was crazy. I mean, that was sort of the peaking out moment of alternative music. And I believe that 94, when we were on, was the biggest one, so it was huge crowds.
We played first on the bill. We opened up for 8 other bands on the main stage, so we were done at about 2:30. So we would just go steal some golf carts and ride around, rural Tennessee, hearing, the other bands play in the distance.
Having Ministry on a bill, like with, Pearl Jam and Ice Cube and us, there was a lot of great tastes going on in there.
You had the Beasties, and their record was blowing up, and then you had like a legend like George Clinton, and and then you even had somebody like Nick Cave, who was incredible and playing in front of half-full places, and it was a really great experience, and It's sort of mind-boggling, you know, that America actually cared there for 1 minute.
So successful was Lollapalooza in capturing the enthusiasm of a new generation starved for new music that its spirit and its star act pretty much took over the 1992 Video Music Awards.
Give it up for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
One thing that stands out is the Red Hot Chili Peppers at the Video Music Awards.
That one, like, everybody jumped on stage.
Everyone got on stage. Captured a moment for the Chili Peppers where they were in their element.
Anthony had on the big checkered outfit.
Suit. And
that was like one of those things where I was like, I want to have a band. I don't care if I rap. I got to have a band.
That was fun. That was a great show. That was a fun show. Not because we were on it, but that could have been like the last free-flowing MTV award show that I can remember.
It's probably the best show ever.
In an award.
On any award thing ever.
And we decided to ask all of our friends, boys and girls, to come and rock the stage with us the whole time and just freestyle dance their way into ecstasy while we played Give It Away.
But you know, the camera could only focus on these two girls wearing the same outfit. I remember that. There was like, everybody was on stage. All people from different bands and all their friends. No.
I think the sad thing was that we didn't have John. I think John had already bailed out, and we had to come up with a replacement, who is an amazing guitar player, Arik Marshall. So that was kind of the sad twist, but the good twist was that we had all of our friends, you know, going crazy and playing with us.
Definitely started taking notice.
My boat.
To the Red Hot Chili Peppers as not being just like this cool LA band. They started becoming worldwide at that point.
Well, if you asked Chad, he would tell you that was his idea. If you asked Flea, he would tell you that was his idea. If you asked our manager, Lindy Getz, he would tell you that was his idea. If you asked me, I'd tell you it was my idea. I think you came up with that one.
For us, the idea was if we made great music, we did it the right way, then when you would look back, you would say, that was a good time in making great music. There's a lot more bands that had a lot more fun than us, but of course they sucked. So.
I didn't understand the power that we held.
It wasn't until then we realized that
the influence
we really are role models
we have over the children.
My favorite video of the 90s would probably be the Tool video for Sober, which was really, it's one of the, you know, the eeriest 3 or 4 minutes I think ever aired.
Dave Grohl's the man,
Talented,
dude.
very, very talented.
Foo Fighters is the bomb.
I think that we imagined it to be sort of a low-key vibe where people who were into Nirvana would probably come check it out, but didn't think it would last this long. It's been 6 years now.
That was a big Hootie time. That's when like that
we rode
whole...
those coattails for a while.
Nice guys, good golfers.
I could see like every high school kid just like popping in the thing, just skating to school, you know what I mean? Listening to like at least one Foo Fighter song before they get to school.
The Grammy-winning Learn to Fly. That's one of my favorites.
That's my favorite. Hands across the board. Hands across the water.
Hands across the water.
He's written some beautiful songs. That one song, tell me gonna stop when I say when.
We didn't really think Everlong was any good until everyone else said it was, and they convinced us that
they're all so
good.
great. Yeah.
It's hard to pick. I mean, we've really got a body of work. They really exploit the smart-ass kind of
quality of
stupid vibe that we seem to have maintained over the course of 6 years.
Me and Dave love smoking.
Taylor and I did it.
Oh, we did this
pro-smoking advertisement to try to get people to smoke, but it was all good fun.
Yeah, we were just kidding. I didn't understand the power that we held.
It wasn't until then we realized
the influence
we really are role models
we have over the children.
Yeah. How they look up to us because
you know
we represent
cool.
I think he's a great performer, and when he first came out with that record after being the drummer and then being the singer, I was so happy for him, you know?
He's like, he went through it with Nirvana, he's like, fool, I'm having fun on this, dude. This is
making music,
I get
man.
to make music, make money.
How serious can you be about making music, man?
He's probably the last great video maker, you know?
Anytime that somebody can bounce back from any kind of situation like what he went through is great. In fact, he switched instruments. I mean, he's a very gifted guy all around. I really admire that a lot.
Ever since the Beatles back in the 1960s, certain kinds of musicians have been trying to use rock as a vehicle for art statements. Foremost among these people in the 90s were Chicago's Smashing Pumpkins and Cleveland's 9 Inch Nails.
You know, 9 Inch Nails, when they first, hit MTV, was beautiful, masterpieces of music and video making.
When I saw that Closer video, I thought, this is such an amazing video.
Closer was a great video.
That was a good song. That's one I want to feel like the Animal.
I thought Closer was a catchy song, but I thought it was crippled because of the lyrics. I didn't think MTV can play the song anyway. And then you get into, well, is it worth spending X amount of money on something that no one's going to see? I have to admit, when we got the video back, it made me like the song more than I did when I did it. And I think that the visuals that went with it were abstract enough, and it made it more disturbing to me.
Lead singer of 9 Inch Nails in a ball gag.
Yummy.
It was sick. It was kinky. It was freaky. It was everything that I love.
Mark's insistence on putting scene missing instead of just glossing it over, I think worked in the sense that it was in a way calling attention to the censorship of MTV towards the video. And also, it intrigued a lot of people who wondered what was behind the scene missing.
Somebody like Mark Romanek, he really brought a lot of vision and a lot of he brought the art world into MTV.
When we delivered Closer to MTV, I was very surprised that it got as much airplay as it did. And I do credit that for definitely an escalation in our popularity.
Of all the videos the band's ever made, I think we've made 17 or 18 videos or something. That was the video that seemed to touch every person.
I thought that video was great when I first saw it. It didn't really look like anything else you'd seen yet.
It seemed to sort of cross every border that exists with rock. It broke down all these doors for us.
I thought that was an friggin' believable song, and the production and that whole double, I mean, it was just genius.
I convinced myself that we would never win any MTV awards. I don't know why. I just thought that the band's sort of progressive attitude towards making videos would never be rewarded. So in that year where we won awards for Tonight Tonight and for 1979, I was probably the most surprised person in the building.
The Smashing Pumpkins, Tonight Tonight!
In a weird way, the band really wasn't about fun. We were about kicking some major ass.
You know, we've had an interesting year. We lost a friend, we lost our drummer, but we hope we haven't lost any fans.
For us, the idea was if we made great music, and we did it the right way, then when you would look back, you would say, that was a good time. There's a lot more bands that had a lot more fun than us, but of course they sucked.
I think the whole Woodstock thing was pretty epic. And it kind of captured
94.
the excitement of that time.
Kennedy standing here in the crowd amidst the tents at Woodstock 94 in Socrates, New York.
Another one of those instances where God has a great sense of humor. The first note, and the word came out of my mouth. Torrential downpour.
It was a successful venture to put together different veins of popular music culture.
Key just took his shirt off and swung it around, the whole place did. One of the most defining moments of rock and roll history.
It was good. It was exciting. Something happened. The air was moved.
I think Site 94 was a lot friendlier for the audience.
The mud people live. All these people, you think they're gonna stay clean? Woodstock 94. Right here. This is it.
Are you one of the guys who's tearing the people into the mud? Were you taking the people into the mud?
New Jacks, they gotta come in.
I think in '94, it was kind of, there was a bit of unity to the crowd's, it wasn't so much anger, it was more like, we're exhausted and this is our release. And You know, thank you for being our release. It was like we were their punching bag, and it was pretty cool.
We saw everybody was covered with mud, and you know, looked like they had been through a couple of wars.
Almost as if it was sort of celebrating something. It was people were having fun.
There was mud about this deep, even if you had nice shoes.
They threw up, they threw mud, they took too much drugs, they got sick, and they'll never forget it, for good or bad.
Looked like fun to me.
Yeah.
The revived Woodstock of 1994 was such a success that the organizers got greedy, and the subsequent Woodstock 99, with its gouging prices and raging bonfires, teetered on the brink of catastrophe.
Then the newer breed of bands that came along in the last couple of years in the rock world were much more about beating their own chest, and about the women, and about much more of the sort of the classic rock star mentalities. They embrace them more. So maybe there's an element to that a little bit, and then when the bands do that, then the fans embrace it a little more.
The things that were happening in Woodstock 99 was complete bullshit. Just seeing how things were going down with, you know, the crowd destroying everything.
It's very, very sad that it has to turn into like jocks and violence.
People got hurt, and that girls were getting molested, which is, you know, always a really awful thing to mix with music, and, you know, something that's supposed to be fun and beautiful.
Big excuse to just be in the pit and like beat someone up or be in the pit. It's like the weirdest thing, the pit, to me. It's like a bunch of guys with a big excuse to just feel each other up.
I don't lay this completely at Woodstock 99's feet, but in general, you know, safety, crowd safety at concerts is completely out of control.
And I don't wanna be like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way.
And now the Red Hot Chili Peppers are playing again. Sort of a biblical end to a show that was having some very evil moments.
I think it's a little too easy to just say that that was everything about Woodstock 99, because there were also some great musical moments.
To us, it was just the most beautiful sky you've ever seen in upstate New York. You know, hundreds of thousands of people, a great sound system, and it was time to play.
You know, the world's changed. You know, the idea of sort of a bunch of people getting in a field and jumping around, everybody's going to be okay, it's just not that way anymore.
Anytime you get that many people together, you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Certainly the sexual assaults that occurred are unforgivable. That portraying an entire generation as kind of these baboons, you know, these kind of lawless, violent heathens, was really completely off the mark.
I remember seeing his little chicken cutlet butt cheeks hanging out.
I was sitting next to my mom when he turned and showed his big white ass to the audience. It was great, man. She loved it too.
When she speaks, there's nothing but truth. There's no filters. Like, she just speaks so truthfully that I just very much respect her.
I remember being on tour in like 1992 in Florida, and the bass player Skid Row comes and goes, "Man, I seen this band last night, Marilyn Manson's Spooky Kids, man. They're amazing. They're gonna be huge." I go, "Who the hell is that?"
From the time of its beginning back in the 1950s, rock music has always managed to be shocking to somebody. By the 1990s, though, even the most sheltered of folks were getting pretty hard to shock. This cultural challenge was taken on MTV's welcoming airwaves by a very determined boat rocker, the Florida industrial band leader Marilyn Manson.
I suppose if I've had any impact on MTV, it's definitely been keeping it in check as far as rock music goes.
He makes good records. I think just really great sounding records and some great beats and stuff like The Dope Show and stuff like Beautiful People. I mean, it was standout, which I think that was what got him people to notice that he was a freak.
I think starting back as far as Sweet Dreams or Beautiful People, I think I did raise the bar on creativity to a certain extent. I'm not the only one, but I think it was important to set a standard and say that you know there is something more exciting you can do with videos.
You want to be in a place that's filled with a bunch of
I have a lot of interesting memories of MTV. I remember the MTV Awards when we did Beautiful People was really great.
I remember seeing his little chicken cutlet butt cheeks hanging out.
I was sitting next to my mom when he turned and showed his big white ass to the audience. It was great, man. She loved it too.
His glistening white buttocks and exposed.
When he came out like, yeah, and he did that pose at the end. Oh, that was kick-ass.
We were sitting there and we could see like Puff Daddy and a lot of the other rappers. And they were, I mean, the whole vibe was, you know, they're all so heavily into religion and God, and here you have this guy who's posing as the Antichrist on stage, and really all of them, they wouldn't even look.
It's good to get a rise out of people. You know, I think if people passionately respond, good or bad, to something, it's much better than no notice was taken.
His image was dark, in the beautiful people and sweet dreams, and it was like decadent and dark. And then the Dope Show was glam, and he was wearing pink sequin boots. I mean, I love pink sequin boots. I mean, who the hell doesn't?
I thought it was even funnier when we played the Dope Show because the cameramen were very specifically avoiding my knee below the waist, so I felt a lot like Elvis on that night.
I thought that his performance of the Dope Show was dope. I mean, that was pretty sick, you know what I mean? And that was a great song too.
Marilyn Manson, to his credit, has helped say, this is what I'm putting across, but there's another message here that you can deduce. And I think he's at least taken responsibility for the messages he's put across. And he's tried to be proactive, and particularly after the shootings in Columbine, be proactive about what it means to be who he is. And I think that's the right level of responsibility.
He is obviously good at pushing people's buttons, and I think that some of the thoughts and the viewpoints he has on things are very valid.
He's slow to speak and quick to listen.
He's an A-level visual artist, you know. But he did say about me that I'm not that good a visual artist, but I'm a better musician, so I'm a better musician.
I think a good thing that came out of Marilyn Manson becoming big was that it helped kill off the bland grunge scene that had burned itself out. So now everybody that did have spandex clothes on now have flannel shirts on. Now they're putting clown makeup on.
I suppose if I hadn't pursued rock, I probably wouldn't have done too well with show tunes or break dancing. I'm not very good at.
Miss Congeniality and her band, ladies and gentlemen. Home!
Courtney Love's band Hole had started out as a hardcore noise rock act, but acquired considerable pop smarts after Love's marriage to Nirvana leader Kurt Cobain, who died on the eve of the release of Hole's second album. Now launched as a movie actress, she remains a lightning rod for critics, and in some quarters, still an object of admiration.
I'm scared of Courtney.
She'll probably kick my ass.
Some people, you know, their thing's all outward, you know, like everybody knows like all of Courtney's traumas and tragedies. Mine are all like hidden away.
Oh, make me over.
Obviously, this woman was sort of slightly out of her mind. It carried into the music in a really cool way, and I thought some of the stuff they did in the early days, and the videos and stuff were great. And there was an element of just chaos to the whole thing.
There's those that are classy, and then there's those that are trashy.
I want to be the girl with the most cake.
And more than anything else, they had to have nerves of steel because of the comments and dealing with rock and roll, which is predominantly a male-driven sport.
I just respect people that express themselves and are unapologetic about it. It gets me really excited.
Someday you'll ache like I ache.
After I saw Rage live, they were amazing.
The first time I saw a Rage Against the Machine video on TV was it was the debut of Freedom on 120 Minutes, and you know my friends were packed in the living room, very excited to see it. Music definitely has the power to motivate people to make a change, and I'm not just saying that as the guitar player of Rage Against the Machine, but I know that because it has had that power with me.
I'm always up for some good protest.
Despite its ferocious rap metal assault, Rage Against the Machine harks back to the hippie protest music of the 1960s with its radical invective against government-fomented injustice and its loathing of the works of international corporations, ironic in light of the fact that the band is employed by one. In any event, with Pearl Jam maintaining a low profile lately, Rage seems well placed to hold down the job of Conscience of Rock.
With Rage, it's like whether you share the same political views, it's like, dude, they believe it and they're not going to back down from what
Right.
they believe in, and that's respectable.
We haven't looked at them so much as commercials for our latest product as a way, as another artistic medium to get our point across. And so, almost without exception, there's been, explicit political content to all Rage Against the Machine videos.
That 4 band members being greater than the sum of their parts, it like makes this 5th presence.
Please welcome on Rage TV one more time. Here's Bulls on Parade from Rage Against the Machine.
I think Bulls on Parade may be my favorite Rage Against the Machine video. It is a rocking jam, and it combines some of the brilliant Barbara Kruger artwork that the kids are putting up on the, our guerrilla graffitiing around town with the LA Phantom silhouettes.
Their passion and the place from which they come, and being unapologetic about being, on some level, just reacting to a society that they disagree with, and I just so support that.
Probably my favorite moment was sitting there in my parents' house and watching Just a Girl come on, which was our first single we had in America after 9 years of being a group. I don't know why people were interested in us, but I think it was something about the fact that people might have been getting tired of some of the bummer music that was going on, which was great music and inspired us.
I salute their success, I think it's great. I think that No Doubt's a great band.
I wanted to write a song called Just a Girl because I thought it was just such a funny thing being a girl in a band. The house that we're at in the video, that's my grandma's house actually, where my dad grew up. And that's where we had a studio. Also, we had like a lot of our friends there, my brother and my sister-in-law, and you can see them all going, So when the video would come on, we'd be like, there's Jen, there's Todd,
I love Gwen. I just feel like she's a woman. Like, when she speaks, there's nothing but truth. There's no filters. Like, she just speaks so truthfully that I just very much respect her.
When our video comes on, I'm like, ah! I still get really, really excited.
There's a chick that knows how to rock, dude. Talking about rock and roll, like girls in rock and roll. She knows how to rock.
I'm just a girl, I'd rather not be, but they won't let me try late at night.
Winning is so great. I want to win everything from now on in my life.
And the winner is?
I don't think that any of us thought for a moment that we were going to win.
No doubt, don't speak.
When they said it, it was just the most incredible, surreal feeling. We all stood up, and I just wanted to just break out in tears, But I stood there, and I just said the F word. And all I could think after that was, oh my God, my grandma, my mom, It's like, oh my God, I'm nervous, quick.
I love people who spit and kick and present themselves in an uninhibited manner.
She's like the last one before that whole pop thing started, you know what I mean? And I love that, and I think she has a great sense of who she is, and she's a player.
I'm about to give you away.
We've had a lot of fun just playing our music and letting people rock out to it.
Should have thought of that before we kissed.
This is my last resort. Rock was trying to have an uprising like in 2000, you know what I mean? And like, we tried our hardest, but the pop would not go away. And it's gonna take something like 10, 20 times stronger than Nirvana to kill it.
It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up.
A lot of kids, I think relate to like that kind of like, forgive me for saying F you attitude. Like he just...
Dude. Mike's been like different lately.
So come and get it.
What I hope goes away is always getting bigger, so it's not gonna go away. So I vote all the rock bands, we team up, and we go kill it.
That's what I'm saying.
All the rock bands should unite. Let's unite and destroy all the processed cheese.
As we've seen so far, the history of rock on MTV has been extremely colorful. As for the state of the music right now, well, there's Kid Rock, who appears to be carrying on the banner dropped some years back by David Lee Roth. And of course, there's the ruling rap metal trend, which can be traced back in some ways to the greatly underrated Faith No More, whose 1990 hit Epic pretty much provided a template for the form. From that epical single, you can draw a fairly straight line to such multi-platinum latter-day practitioners as Korn and Limp Bizkit.
Some of the things they pass off as rock today. It's crazy. Man, that sucks.
Right now on MTV, rock is depressed.
I think rock music today is definitely more aggressive.
So it's just our job to try and
Let's
get
try
people
to
to want to see more rock on TV.
Yep, that's why we're out here
By
rocking
making
it.
some good rock.
Last year, there was a nice resurgence of rock for a while. Like on TRL, they played us on TRL for a split second, which was very strange.
Rock music on MTV is, to me, last year was POD, you know what I mean? And our peers, Incubus, Papa Roach, Deftones, that was rock music in 2000.
And when I looked away, I looked back, and it's like, whoa, everything is back. Like it's just straight pop now.
Now it's strip clubs, girls, and Mercedes.
Benzes. That's cool. That's your bag. That's your gig.
You make me break.
I think that the music scene in general usually really takes a dive and really reaches a low point when we don't have an album out.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of bands these days aren't just pure rock. I think they're taking elements of, hip hop, rap, rock, in our case, a little bit of maybe dance hall, reggae, and they just everyone's kind of mixing it up a bit.
Come my lady, come my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar, baby.
The injection of hip-hop rhythms and production styles into old-fashioned rock has transformed the music entirely. Traditionalists may not like it, but many musicians do.
Through the band's chemistry, there seemed to be a pretty seamless integration of our different influences.
The Chili Peppers and Korn, Limp Bizkit. I don't think those rock bands would be so influenced by hip-hop if it wasn't from watching MTV, where everything gets shown.
Now you have kids that grew up completely having hip-hop in their lives, making records, and they're growing up and they're getting record deals and they're making these records that are highly hip-hop influenced.
I think that the metal rap thing completely sucks ass.
What's happening now is like hip-hop metal, It doesn't seem like it's the old school represented.
I don't get it, and I don't want to get it, and I don't really mind if I don't get it.
Kind of shocking, how they are mixing it up, and it is being accepted.
Any type of merger is nice.
I love categories being blurred, lines being blurred and muddy. So I just see music kind of overlapping itself and changing.
I think it's fantastic. I think the more people are cross-pollinated between different musical styles, it not only has musical implications, but it has cultural ones as well.
Limp Bizkit is pretty fresh, I think they took their love for hip-hop and rap and took their anger that they had within them, and they put it all together and made some pretty catchy tunes.
Oh, I like that. I love the riffs. I love that guitar player dressing up and looking like an alien. I think that's awesome.
Fred has a very strong personality, and he really invites that. He really invites all that energy from everybody, whether it's good energy or bad energy or whatever. He doesn't care.
And I love, the attitude. You want to break some shit tonight. How about your fucking face? Who can't relate to that?
This is the time kind of get wild. Maybe how about that? And there is a good time to get wild.
You got to appreciate the hell out of what they're doing, and if you've ever seen them live, it's pretty sick, so you got to give them props for that.
Anybody could have covered Faith, and I don't know if it had been that big if we wouldn't have done it the way we did it.
A lot of kids, I think relate to that kind of forgive me if they're saying you attitude. He just...
Dude. Mike's been different lately.
Limp Bizkit are great at what they do. That's why they're just about the most successful one.
You cannot deny some of those songs, Nookie and all that stuff. It just really does get you going.
It's fun to be a rock star.
I suggest that everybody, once again, just forget what they're doing and just be rock stars.
I think that people like Kid Rock are trying to bring it back.
Kid Rock is an incredible musical talent who's much, much deeper than this rock rap stuff. I mean, his musical horizons go so far beyond any of that stuff, all the way to the Hank Williamses,
Grand Funk,
to the Lynyrd Skynyrd's,
Bob Seger.
Just great American music.
Every song that's been popular, I can turn on classic rock radio and dig those songs all day long.
Devil without a cause, and I'm back with the beaver hats and Ben Davis slacks.
Kid Rock's cool, man.
Talented.
Yeah, he's a cool
The
dude,
man's
man.
a star, man.
Talented. Pimp of the nation, dude.
The rock and roll lifestyle is go out, you drink a bunch every night, you're on the road, there's girls around, there's you're in and out of limos, you get a bunch of money in the bank, and you do all that for a while, and then you jump over and get your own VH1 special.
When Kid Rock played with Aerosmith, that was really exciting. I told him that too. I go, you really bring the excitement to the stage.
And we went and did rehearsals and tossed the mics back and forth. And I was like, run, let's toss the mics. He's like, you crazy? I toss the microphone. Stephen Tyler said, hey, I got this thing. You want to toss the mic? He said, yeah, nigga, wow.
I have to say the Walk This Way, for all the great damage that it did, all the great hype we're getting for blowing a little rock air into the breath of hip-hop early on, and I'm just so grateful and honored to have been a part of that.
It was kind of like a 7-layer burrito, really. I mean, you had all the right ingredients for a tasty, tasty treat.
I wanted to play starting from in the aisle and walking down it, as opposed to being on stage and being walked off and arrested or whatever. There's nothing like walking on stage in front of 100,000 people or 10 people and have them sing back the song you wrote in your basement 10 weeks before. It's flipped out.
It's sort of a mystery. It's one of the few mysteries we've gotten going, that we can still count on. The unpredictability of what's going to happen and what's going to be popular.
I think that the era of music that we're in now reminds me a lot of the disco era, or at least the end of the 80s, before grunge kind of came in. And I really hated grunge when it happened, but I kind of missed those days because at least there was a real focus on rock music.
From Pat Benatar to John Mellencamp to Guns N' Roses and Nirvana and Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit, it's been a long and unpredictable 20-year ride. What does the future hold for rock on MTV? Don't ask me, ask these people.
Just rock music to me has sort of played its part.
I thought that the year 2000 for music was a little bit of an uninspired year, and I feel like because it went so low, you kind of have to hit rock bottom. I think people are going to get really creative and start making some really interesting music.
I think the next circle, maybe it'll get all trippy and psychedelic again, like in the late 60s.
I just love watching the evolution and the changes and the pendulum swinging back and forth all the time.
People are combining different styles and genres together and making something new. And which is, to me, I think it's the most exciting thing in the world.
It keeps coming back to basic rock music, so the cycle continues to repeat itself.
I don't think it's come full circle. I mean, I think it's over.
Music has its own way of balancing itself out.
And eventually, some things that matter will kind of rise to the surface.
Music in general has become more about entertainment. It just goes and goes, and it blows itself up and starts all over again.
They thought grunge was going to be here for 20 years too, you know what I mean? I've been here for 20 years. I'm telling you, it doesn't stay.
Something that new comes out, and eventually it sort of slowly gets worse and worse until something happens where it gets good again.
The point is that it has to keep evolving and changing into something else, otherwise you're dead.
when I was 15 and I was watching MTV, I got really mad by what the channel was playing, and that had a lot to do with me wanting to make music that like would disturb people, because I thought, this sucks.
People get sick of substanceless eating birthday cake every meal. You know, it seems like a good idea, and then you get a stomach ache and you're sick of it.
It's that reaction that creates what is the next thing.
Something exciting will happen, and then everybody kind of conforms to that, and then it's boring.
And then you ultimately become the thing that people sit around and look at you and say, that sucks.
When it's your time to move over, let the next bunch go.
That's the cannibalistic nature. And I think that's all good. It's healthy.
It's one of the few mysteries we've gotten going, you know, that we can still count on. You know, the unpredictability of what's going to happen and what's going to be popular.
The future of music is always promising. You know, it's infinite, and there's always going to be some new high-strung punk to come along and make up the new.
And what about the music of right now? Coldplay, Linkin Park, At the Drive-In, all that stuff? Well, as usual, some people like it and some people don't, if only because some people always hate the music of the moment for the simple reason that it's not the familiar music of the past. But if history's any guide, new and exciting sounds are always in the offing, and that's reason enough to stay tuned so you don't miss them.
I think that anybody current owes something to the past.
I hope punk rock, like just some aggressive, crazy, illmatic, energetic punk rock comes back around.
I've seen a little bit of a resurgence of little tinges of punk, a little bit more of that, just like a more live feel.
I'd like to see what Incubus sounds like in like 5 to 8 years.
I would love to see another resurgence of like the important rock, where people are just like the highly anticipated, you know, good lyric, good artful imagery.
I like the fact that there's kids out there that are still playing.
There's always a kid turning 14, discovering music.
As we speak, somebody's tinkering in the garage and, you know, they'll blow us away.
I'll always continue what I'm doing, because I think if something's rock and roll, then it's gonna maintain, you know, through the storms of terrible trends.
The use of the computer is something that is, the results are just, they're fantastic, and they're so fresh musically.
Maybe something crazy would be if you took all the computers away and just did it on some old school type stuff.
You don't realize the moment that you're living in terms of pop culture until you really, 5 or 10 years later, when you can look back on it.
If you could take some kid who's like totally into like NSYNC or whatever, and like he sees our video on MTV and it steers him in that direction, and maybe it just opens up that door for that,
the whole
to
rock
that,
and roll scene
and then they
behind.
discover like everything that's great in this genre of music, then I think then we've done something cool.
This is my last resort.